Okay, this may be the only time in our lives that the Rolling Stones were an opening act for the city council. So, thank you for being here tonight. I am Scott Taylor, chair of the Planning, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee. I'm also part of the selection committee with other council members and city staff. And want to welcome everybody. We have a great turnout tonight in the historic West Bottoms. So let's give yourselves a round of applause for being out here tonight. We think this may be the first city council committee meeting held under the scoreboard at Kemper Arena. What do you think? I think that's probably a safe bet. We are really excited to be here. The reason that we are here is because we wanted to make sure that we had a meeting outside the city hall. We did it at night so that you could, if you're working during the day, you can make it out. It's for working families to come out and provide testimony. And where could we have done it better than Kemper Arena on the floor of Kemper Arena? So this is a lot of history here, and we really appreciate being here. What I'd like to do real quick is just go through introductions, because not everybody was at the 6 o'clock meeting. I'm introducing myself, my vice chair right here of the Planning and Zoning Committee.
Yeah, I'm Lee Barnes with the 5th District at Large.
Catherine Shields, 4th at Large.
Heather Hall, 1st District in District.
And then, go ahead. I was going to say, this shows the council interest that we have. Those are the council committee members for this council meeting. We've been joined by several of our colleagues. And so, Councilman Lucas, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. Quentin Lucas, 3rd District at Large.
Kevin McManus, 6th District.
Dan Fowler, 2nd District.
And then if we could have staff make introductions.
Oscar McGaskey, Convention Entertainment Facilities.
Catherine Carter, City Planning and Development.
Jeffrey Williams, City Planning and Development.
Lana Torsen, City Attorney's Office.
Maggie Reyes, City Clerk's Office.
All right, thank you. And I want to give a special thanks to Oscar McGaskey and his team. They do a great job with all our facilities, and we told them we wanted to have a meeting. We wanted to do it in Kemper Arena under the scoreboard, and we wanted to do a tour too and open it up to the public. And he did not hesitate and said, let's do it. And so we appreciate all the effort that's gone into this, Oscar. Let's give our city staff a round of applause. And then in the back, ready to speak when we ask him to speak on his cell phone right now, probably taking care of a city issue, is City Manager Troy Schulte, who's been a great support of this whole project. So let's give Troy a round of applause. Okay, with that, what we'll do tonight is we're going to have the selection committee discussion presentation. Jeff Williams is going to start that. And then we will open it up to the Fouch brothers for their presentation. If there's anything we want to ask as we're going, council, feel free to jump in, but I would encourage you maybe to wait, and then we can open it up. We have a lot of people here, and we're going to take as much public testimony as you would like to give tonight. We want to hear from you. This is the first of probably many meetings, maybe not under the scoreboard at Kemper Arena. We may have to have one back at City Hall, but we will. This is the start of the process, the public part of the process, and there are many other steps in the process, but we're very excited about the potential of this project moving forward. So with that, I would turn it over to Jeff Williams, and if you would like to make your presentation there or there, wherever you're most comfortable.
I think I can work from right here. Good evening, everyone. Again, Jeffrey Williams, City Planning and Development. And I'm going to take a few minutes just to give an overview of the RFP processes related to the redevelopment of Kemper Arena. An RFP was issued out by the city May 20th, 2015 that was seeking ideas for the redevelopment of Kemper Arena. When we talk about Kemper Arena, it's not only the arena building itself, it's an approximately 10-acre site. If you're looking on the screen, you see the area that is highlighted. So you see Kemper Arena itself and then the parking lot to the north. That constitutes the 10 acres of Kemper Arena that the RFP was seeking proposals for redevelopment. And again, just provide a little bit of a timeline. So the RFP was issued May 20th, 2015. The proposals were due and submitted back to us on August 21st of 2015. There was, for the two entities that had submitted proposals to us, we requested some supplemental information. We had 2 rounds of that request for supplemental information. Ultimately, those 2 groups were shortlisted for further consideration, and that happened in February of 2016. As part of that shortlisting process, some additional information was requested, and then there was also an interview by the selection committee with those 2 proposers. That took place in February of 2016. Also, what happened during the period of time before we reached today is you'll see a note there about Kemper bond repayment complete. When we issued out the RFP, it was at the time when there was still some bond obligations against Kemper Arena. Those bonds were paid off on April 15th of this year, so now that debt obligation is no longer associated with this building. And that brings us to today and the presentation by the firm that the selection committee identified as being the preferred group to move forward with in this process. The selection committee consisted of council members Taylor, who's chair of PZ&ED, along with council member Shields and council member Lohr. From the city staff perspective, we had representatives from a number of different departments: city planning and development, law, general services, convention and entertainment, and the Office of Economic Development. So for project evaluation, this is information that came right out of the RFP itself. There were a number of different points that the 2 proposals submitted were evaluated against. Understanding that the redevelopment of the structure should support overall planning recommendations from the area. Understanding that the improvements should help facilitate improved business and economic activities. The proposal should support existing businesses and community activities in the area. One of the things we want to make sure that any repurposer of this building would not do is compete or duplicate events and activities at Sprint Arena. We need to have an understanding of the amount of developer equity that would be contributed to the project and what non-city sources would be leveraged to make improvements to the building. Other understanding of issues related to understanding how this proposal eliminates any future city contributions towards the maintenance of the building. We also looked at how the proposal would support and encourage broader redevelopment efforts throughout the West Bottoms and the Stockyard District. Understanding how the proposal conform to or may assist the city in meeting any of its lease obligations related to the American Royal. And then ultimately how the proposal related to existing facilities or land uses in close proximity to the site. Those were the evaluation criteria used to judge the project. For the proposers themselves, it related to capacity of the team, either financial capacity, understanding about what experience they've had in transformative projects of this nature, the caliber of the partners and the design members associated with the proposal, understanding and demonstrating financial wherewithal to be able to undertake the project, and clearly making sure there'd be participation of minority and women-owned businesses in this project and in previous efforts. And ultimately, the concept that the redevelopment of Kemper Arena should really be looked at about the proposer's ability to utilize firms and suppliers that are local to Kansas City, Missouri. So looking and using that criteria in addition with other factors and after interviewing both of the teams, the proposals from Fouch Brothers was selected over the Alton proposal by Stevens Brothers. And I just want to give some highlights of some of the selection rationale that the committee used. The first rationale was that this proposal, unlike the other, was going to offer a broader range of sports and activities on the site. So it was not dependent necessarily on focus on one particular sport, but multiple sports in conjunction with other types of uses that would be supportive of sports activities in the building. And we felt this proposal exceeded the other in providing a broader range of opportunity and variety of sports. Also understanding that this particular proposal contained elements that were more transformative for the overall West Bottoms district. A larger number of different uses and opportunities here on site that would not only support the redevelopment of this building, but really be additional support and services for the broader community. Also, the level of improvements that's being proposed by Fouch Brothers exceeded the level of improvements proposed by the other developer. Throughout this process, we've tried to make it very clear to everybody about the level of deferred maintenance that's needed on the facility, the general upgrading that is needed, and it was felt that this proposal, as opposed to the other, had a greater grasp about what those improvements needed to be to not only maintain the structure, but to truly make sure that the redevelopment and the activities here would be successful. And then finally, this proposal, as opposed to the other, really did not contain aspects or less that potentially would have any conflict with what happens with Sprint Center. So those were some of the rationale used by the committee that ultimately came to the decision that the Fouch Brothers proposal is the one in which we as a city want to move forward with. So what's next? Some of the things that are going to happen between now and when the property would be turned over to the redeveloper. The first is doing rigorous and in-depth financial analysis, and it's working through our advanced KC process. It's doing the appropriate analysis of a project this size, bringing in outside consultants, working through the EDC and their structure for vetting projects of this type. And an additional due diligence from a city perspective, because unlike other development projects where we may be talking about private property owners, we, in a sense, are property owners, and we have to be even more diligent in making sure that upon transfer of the property, it is going to an owner and operator that has the wherewithal to keep the operation going. Historic tax credit application, that's something that is the redeveloper is working on. As people are aware, there was a process to have this structure dedicated of the National Register, and that frees up access to historic tax credits that would be part of the financial stack for redevelopment of the building. There's some basic planning and zoning things that need to be done. The parcel needs to be platted. This parcel has never been platted before, and it would need to be rezoned to a UR district, and that's something we do with any project that would be receiving some level of city abatement. But ultimately, through those steps and looking to coordinate all those steps, it's with the broad goal of having the ability for the city to be able to transfer ownership of Kemper Arena by the end of the third quarter of 2016, so by the end of September of 2016. And as you hear from the Fouch group, they'll talk to you about their timelines as associated with upon receiving the structure, what their construction timeline is and their timeline for making the facility operational. So that's a brief overview. Joe, there are questions we can take now, or I think the Fouch group is ready to make their presentation, and then questions could follow after that.
Yeah, I think let's hear from the Fouch Brothers, their presentation, then maybe we can open up to questions and do it all at once. But cognizant that we have a lot of people that might want to testify as well. And while they're setting up, we have a sign-in sheet. We have a sign-in sheet, if you could hold that up, Maggie, and we'd encourage you to sign in if you plan on testifying, so we can get your name, where you're from, and that typical things for a council committee. And then while they're setting up, we also, I believe, still have some water in back. If anybody would like that, feel free to, you don't have to stay in your seat the whole time. If you want to go over and take a look at the renderings, feel free to do that as well. All right. Okay, good evening.
All right. Thank you very much. My name is Steve Fouch. I'm the managing partner of Fouch Brothers. With me on my right is Todd Kobayashi. He's obviously not one of my brothers, but he's my CFO, so he handles all of our financial situations, so he's here with me tonight as well. In the audience, I have my wife and my kids and a couple of their friends who wanted to be part of this as well. And last but not least, we also have more members of our staff here as well, which I would like to thank personally our architectural design staff, who starting Monday afternoon when all of this happened, created some new images and new boards to help better explain what we're doing tonight. So if any of them are back there, if they want to stand up and say hi or whatever, they pretty much worked through the night getting these boards ready for us. So for Kemper Arena, our proposal, I will apologize to those here that have seen this 10 or 12 times already. I've tried to create a couple new slides today that some worked, some didn't work, but I will go through it quickly so we're not here all night, but I'll also take my time for those that have not seen it before. The main premise with this building of how we figured out one reason to save this building is you can see that the Kansas City Chiefs are huge, but they have a few big events with a lot of people coming to a few events, versus Heartland Soccer, where our kids play as well. They have continuous activity. It's a smaller amount of people each time, but they have continuous activity all year round. So that is the basis of this arena, where we can repurpose it for a different kind of event that happens in here, but it's got to happen more often, all year round, all week long, as many hours as possible. That's the financial capacity to help make this project work. So this was in the, I think the Star of the Business Journal sort of made our point for us. The second main aspect in this slide is, you can see the addition of the second floor. This is where now we can have, instead of on this lower bowl where we're sitting now, you can put in about 4 basketball courts. But we're going to put in a second floor up at the balcony level, the 118, the 103, the 104. There'll be a whole new structural floor built in here that will allow us to have 8 more basketball courts. So that top floor is about 52,000 square feet. And that's where we go from a 4-court venue to a 12-court venue. So we can have a lot more kids or adults playing here, and now we can have other tournaments and leagues and stuff that have a large venue to play in. And it's also Central City, trying to be in the center of where all of the potential people might be coming from as well. So the concept of constant activity versus where the building was before, you'd have a huge event and then nothing, and then a huge event and then nothing. So your infrastructure, your roads, your parking and so forth were totally clogged up, and then there's nothing. So economic development wise, it's hard to create a company or a restaurant or something down here with all or nothing, all or nothing. So with our concept, when we have continuous slow traffic, we're trying to get target at least 1,000 kids per night coming down for practices during the week. So 150 cars coming by every hour on the hour, coming in for a new set of hourly practices, will be the slow, steady traffic that you need to hopefully help develop the rest of this neighborhood. So here's just a quick view of where we are now, down in this lower bowl with the new basketball courts put in. We've put up a couple advertisements. Don't read the names too clearly, but you can now see the structure above. So that's what it'll look like when we put the new floor in above us. It'll be about 25 to 28 feet of floor height, of floor to structure in here. And then up above us, if we were now up in the upper bowl looking down, you'd be looking onto this new floor, and you'd still have all the seats up above as well. So the options we're talking about with the facility, obviously we've been talking about all the sports, the basketball, volleyball, futsal, track, rowing, tennis, wrestling, gymnastics. So when you think of all these basketball courts, obviously it's basketball and volleyball and futsal, which is soccer played on a hard court. But now anything that you can roll out, like the wrestling mats, the gymnastics, anything that can be put on that surface can be some of those sports. So we're not really planning at this moment on turf, but yet you could roll out turf, or you could still play some sort of football or other turf type sport in here as well, practicing as well. So we're not limiting it to really any sport. We're opening it up to every sport. Some of our partners that we're working with now, Kansas City Sports Commission, Visit KC, Parks and Rec, and then we're actually getting calls from some of the home schools and charter schools that don't have a gym, they don't have a PE coach. They're looking for another venue to help them with this aspect of their teaching. And then obviously the adult leagues. We're not just a youth facility. This will be open to everybody, all ages and all conditions. So now, other than sports as well, we can still hold small conventions, smaller events, stuff that's not competing with Sprint Center. The esports or the gamers, I think there's a couple here with me tonight as well. That's a very big growing field that we're going to work with as well. You mentioned graduations earlier. I don't know that we can have 2 graduations going at the same time. It might be a little noisy, but we'll still hopefully make that option available. The other thing we're going to talk about is what most people don't realize in this building is the amount of office space that we can create. So we can have a small set of different kinds of companies that are related to sports or they just want to be here. It's open for sports, it's collaborative space. We'll show you some of those drawings in a minute, but there's a whole lot behind all these seats that most people miss. So I don't know if you saw it or not during the tour, but I'll show you some of those on the floor plans. And those spaces are going to be office or retail and merchandising. We also have a hospital that wants to do a clinic in here, physical therapy, because they want to be with all these kids and the youth and so forth and the sports and what they're doing. They want to be with them, not just another hospital up the road.
Part of our challenge in this too will be making these sports fit together. So we have a lot of options now, but some of our management challenge is going to be how do we get them to work together? You know, how can we make the right combination to get the best usage out of the facility? So we've got kind of a large funnel, and we're going to be kind of whittling that down to try to find events and sports that make sense together.
Stop me at any time if you have any questions too. We'll back up later. So, sorry, this one's a little bit hard to read. So if you go straight through these walls, back underneath all the bleachers, back underneath all the concourse, you rarely get to go back there into the service level. We have about 27,000 square feet of office space available. Right now it's offices, storage, other mechanical things, and just services for these big events. So when we clear this out and we get rid of some of the stuff that's not needed here, there's a huge amount of office space in there. So the hospital and the clinic is going to take a large portion of that, but then we also have lots of other groups that are starting to come out that want to be part of that area as well.
We're hoping that we get some club sports and some of those activities that can go ahead and make this kind of their home base.
I'm pointing somewhere. It's supposed to have. There we go. Too far. Okay. So now add a little color to that. Literally, we have the locker rooms that are there already. So we're looking at the basement level here, the service level. This is not talking about a sport. This is talking about fitness, stretching, yoga, Pilates, karate, weightlifting, the health clinic, stuff like that. Everything that every person that's an athlete should be talking about as far as their fitness, both mentally and physically, regardless of which sport you're in. That's everything we're trying to do on this lower level. We also have a couple movie theaters going in there so that you can watch your game film, so that you're not spending your time out on the field trying to wave your hand and diagram a play. We want the kids to watch their play, watch it in slow motion, back up, rewind it again. We're going to be videotaping all the courts in here. That's an option that you can videotape the game, and then you can purchase or rent that video and then watch it afterwards as well. So the video is a good part of training. When I was an athlete back in college, I was a hurdler at Iowa State, and every time we ran a set of hurdles, every time we were videotaped. And we'd go back, we'd watch it, and see exactly what we did right or wrong. There was no yelling or screaming. Look for yourself, see for yourself. So it was a very important way of training, and you know, this was many, many years ago. So hopefully our technology is a little bit better. We can do a better job of it now. I swear I'm pointing in the right direction. Okay. We haven't.
There's our,
There we go. Okay, so here again, sorry, a little bit harder to read this one, but now you go up another level to the concourse. One of our concepts here is you have 18,000 seats. We're not expecting to have 18,000 seats. Excuse me. So if we came down to 8,000 or 10,000 seats, code-wise, we need half as many bathrooms, half as many exits, half as many vending, because we have a smaller capacity in here. So now I can now convert those spaces into office space, sales, retail, merchandising space. When you talk about deferred maintenance, we're also going to select those bathrooms that were in such bad shape. We're not going to fix them, we're going to remove them, so we can reduce those expectations of cost. So you're seeing in blue up there another 10,000 square feet of leasable space. And then on the inner core are all of these suites that you see around us right now. We're not counting that in that 10,000 square feet because here on the next chart, those suites will still be suites. But they're also going to be like what we call team rooms, where the volleyball girls can rent that suite for the weekend for their tournament. So they have their own bathroom, They have their own lockable place where they know they are. They've got a little wet bar in there for their food and drink, and their stuff is contained, and the parents always know where to find them. So that's one concept. So it'll always still be a suite for rent for other activities and so forth, but there's so many different things you can do in those rooms. We are keeping those as they are. So let's see, we hit the office space, the party rooms, the team rooms. Yeah, we hit all that as well. There's just another view that we've had this view out there for 3 years. This is the main atrium space on the east looking towards downtown. It can be an atrium, it can be the food garden, it can be a white tablecloth type event. This is a concept back when we put the running track down on the main concourse. We've updated it since then, but literally this image I think is about 3 years old. We've stuck with it. It's always been a good image. There we go. Okay, so when we're talking about sports in here, we also showed this quick diagram of small conventions. So you could split it into, you could be setting up for one while you're having another, but we could have those smaller conventions that again is not competing with your other facilities. So we're not the big facility and we're not the little facility. We've now given you an option for an intermediate sized facility in town. That's where the Sports Commission and Visit KC are excited, is they have now another option to go after more events. Here also, we're just showing you that when we talk about gymnastics, we can actually get 2 full sets of gymnastics equipment on this floor. So there's lots of different sporting events we can put there. Yeah, I went too fast. I said we weren't necessarily going to do turf, but we've been having calls from the lacrosse teams that really want to play lacrosse here. So if we had to, we could roll out the turf, and it's not quite a full-size field, but again, it's good enough for practice. It's indoor year-round. So down here, we'd still have the option to roll in big, heavy equipment. We could roll out the turf and so forth. All right, so now, if you go up to the upper deck, you go behind all the top row seats above the outer concourse. There's still a whole other concourse up there. Usually when you're walking the concourse, you don't look up there and see it, but the upper deck now has bathrooms and vending, but they also have office and storage and so forth. So we have another 12,000 square feet of office space up there above the concourse on that next level. You're also starting to see the new floor that's put above us here. There's 8 basketball courts outlined on that. So here's that image again with, we're looking at more of office space, locker room storage, more of the team rooms that the suites would be in as well. And then the upper part of the vending area. Surprise, surprise. Okay, so you go clear to the very top. You go to row 207, 208, clear to the very top of the building. There's still a concourse around that that's about 8 or 9 feet wide. So we're going to deck out over another 3 or 4 rows of seats so that we can put up a 5-lane running track. It's about 380 meters around, so it's not quite a full-size outdoor running track around a football field, but it's very close to it. And there's nothing that size in the Midwest at all. It won't be quite, authentic type running facility, but it'll be for practice. When we talk about core strength in the very bottom of the building, no matter what sport you come in here, if you want to get your conditioning and go run laps, you should go run laps up there, not back and forth on a basketball court. So hopefully we're going to change some of the style of training and the mentality of training. If I have any bikers behind me, we're also going to bank that, so you have a velodrome. There's a bike club here that wants to ride bicycles during the wintertime, so they can now have a 1/4 of a mile biking track up there as well. But in blue, there's more office space. It's right now it's mechanical, but it's 50-year-old mechanical systems that don't need to be that large that we're going to change and do differently. So we could actually put more office space up there as well. So we are talking about sports and merchandising and retail and office space. 8 a.m. to midnight type uses down here. Some are coming in, some are going out.
And indoor tracks this size are very hard to find.
We threw this one in as well. Todd played baseball. We threw it in for him. We could get 2, they're not quite high school size, but they would be youth size baseball fields. That upper floor plate is so large, it's hard to imagine, so we put some graphics in there to show you how big it is. And then volleyball as well. So each of the basketball courts usually become 2 volleyball courts. We do have to change some dimensions. If Bertle is here with HOA, we have to spread those out a little bit, but we can still get, on the lower bowl, we should be able to get 6 or 7 volleyball courts and another 12 to 14 upstairs. So again, the HOA Show Me Qualifier Volleyball Tournament is your third largest convention that comes to town. So now we can add 20 to 30% capacity, which is not even as many as he turns away each year. So we can keep adding to existing conventions that always come here already. So we're wrapping up here shortly, but as we've mentioned, we're expecting 1,000 visitors during the week. 150 kids coming in every hour for practice, coming with a parent, with a sibling, and so forth. On weekends, we're expecting 3,000 to 5,000 visitors on weekends each day. So that's estimating we're going to be starting out around 500,000 visitors per year, as we get started, hopefully ramping up to more like 1 million visitors per year. Big numbers, but you saw the very second slide, you saw how many visitors go to Heartland Soccer camps out there right now. So I think they're at 1.8 million, so we're not far behind that. As far as our project, the question's been out there, we're planning on spending at least $25 million on this project. Total project cost, meaning the construction cost and all the soft costs and legal and services. That will be a combination of the equity or the money put in by myself and other investors that we have joining us on this project. Then also a standard commercial bank loan, and then the historic tax credits. So all of those, as Jeff mentioned earlier, is our sort of our capital stack to make this work. Our timeline, obviously, you talked about earlier, we're trying to have acquisition of the building by the end of 2016 this year, and we're setting a 12-month construction schedule. We have some contractors behind me right here that I'm sure are smiling, just shaking their head. But again, there's not a lot of renovation to do. The main thing is putting this new floor in, which can be prefabricated, and it goes up in erector set pieces. It goes pretty quick while they're out there working on the bathrooms or building other stuff. So it's not a traditional construction cycle of one thing has to follow the other. You can be working all over the building at the same time. So we think 12 months is easily achievable here. We'd like to be open before the end of 2017. We have actually already started taking reservations for 2018. We've taken 10 weekends, the whole weekend, the whole facility. So we'd like to make sure we keep on that schedule.
I think one of the important things to note here also is we're going to have a diversity of funding sources. We're not just going to have one equity source. It's not going to be just Fouch Brothers that funds this. On the tax credits, we're going to have substantial companies that will come in and be the tax credit investors that will actually put a large amount of equity into the project. We'll also have some other equity investors besides ourselves to help finance the project. So, that capital stack is a very diversified capital stack that, again, it's not just Fouch Brothers. It's a lot bigger and more broad stack.
And the last slide, just to recap everything. We all believe that this is an iconic structure. We want to make it a destination. We think there is high demand for sports, especially in Central City, and because we are now catering to a lot of sports that are not catered to other places. We've talked a lot about the continuous traffic that's trying to help everybody who's here. It's continuous traffic for us, 8 a.m. to midnight, but it's also for the neighborhood. They can sustain it, they have the infrastructure for it, and they can start building upon it. One of the biggest parts is obviously low cost of entry. To rebuild this structure today would be hundreds of millions of dollars. And so this gives us a chance to make this work. The generosity of the city doing this as well, us helping you, the private-public partnership, the lowest cost of entry, we think we can make this work. We have talked about the health, the fitness performance. It's not just about youth coming in playing club sports. It is about a total fitness package, mentally and physically as well. The value-added services then of the retail and the office community is that extra financial source to help pay the mortgage and just keep a constant flow of revenue to make sure we're successful. Pretty much we just sort of end like that because I know there's a lot of questions and probably a lot of people that want to talk as well, and we're good at answering questions, so we'll just open it up to the floor.
Sure. Let's just open it up to questions and start there, and then we'll open the public testimony in just a second. You want to start here and go around? Or?
Sure, that's fine.
That's fine.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Fouch, thank you for this presentation. I think the concepts are very, very interesting and intriguing. I do have a few questions on I'm not a sportsman, and I didn't engage in youth sports very much as a kid, so I don't understand some of it. You talk about rowing, which to my mind means boats and water. How would that work in here?
That's a great introduction. My daughter just started rowing. The Kansas Kansas City Boat Club is down here now in the Kaw River, and Bill Hall is a big supporter of them as well. And rowing is now one of the faster growing women's sports, so it's something we're all trying to help promote as well. In here, I'm going to have an indoor swimming pool, not a performance pool, but water therapy for all the sports and different ventures. So Phil's probably back there thinking I'm nuts too, but we're going to actually put the boat in the swimming pool, and you'd be sitting in it rowing just like you're on the river, and we'd have different jets and water action to simulate some of the water movement as well. So the other places have what's called a tank, where it's just a static set of rowing equipment in water and you get the full action. I want them to actually set the boat in for that action as well. But it also means then we take it out. Then you have a swimming pool, then you have water therapy. If I had everything dedicated just for one specific function, I couldn't fit all this in. So we have to be very diversified in what one thing can do for multiple people.
So it'd be more a training than a competition facility, is that what you're saying?
Correct, yes, I'm sorry. It's rowing, it's the training during the winter months.
Okay. And what are esports? I'll show my age now. What are esports?
I'm not one of them, but it's the gamers, the guys that actually play the, Jackson, help me. Name us. League of Legends. The guys that play the internet games against each other. I can send you the links, but it's actually now becoming.
No, I've got enough to do with
okay.
that.
It's actually
Minecraft. I don't know that one either. But okay,
it's becoming a Title IX sport at some of the colleges already. It is competition, and in these venues, 5 players will come and literally sit 5 against 5 with big video screens playing each other, and the stands will be filled with people watching them, just like you're watching a sporting event. How are they doing? How can I do it better? What tricks are they using? And they're cheering on their team. I didn't believe it until a couple months ago when they started showing me the numbers, and I believe one of them they showed me in Japan. They're averaging around 40,000 spectators in a full stadium watching these sports now. So here they're talking about all week long, the whole week, 24 hours a day, gaming.
Just think of it as a multi-day convention, kind of is how you can think about it.
And the reason I'm asking, my conception of gaming is you're sitting at home doing something, competing with somebody in the other side of the world, but I take it that's not correct.
It is that concept, but they bring them together for face-to-face and merchandising. And I have not witnessed one, but they're excited about it.
And on your track, if it's not going to be a regulation competition site, is that more for training too, or is that going to be, do you envision some type of competition?
I think at the moment it'd be mainly just for training. I don't like to see kids doing lines on the basketball court all the time or getting their physical fitness on a basketball court. They need to open up and learn how to run and run properly, so the track is really one of my personal training facilities. So I don't know that I could get anybody to actually do a competition here, maybe other than some of the youth sports or the smaller kids that don't necessarily have to have exact dimensions and exact times. But 2 of our other clients are the Special Olympics, Missouri and Kansas. And it also gives their participants another facility, and track is one of their big sports as well. So it might be performance for them.
All right. Well, and I'm thinking of it now, probably I belong, as you may too, the Parkville YMCA, there's indoor running track. This certainly is not regulation. It may be, a little more than 1/10 of a mile around there, so it's, yours would be bigger, I suppose.
You get a little dizzy running around it that much?
Yeah, real dizzy.
Yeah.
And who would be your office market? You talked about using some of this for office and retail. What would be your tenant mix? What would that look like?
We're not limiting it to anybody specifically, but we are going after anybody that's in the sports type environment. If you are a promoter, organizer, club, and you all want to sort of be in one area, and this is sort of your home base or your headquarters, and you're all collaborating together on different things. But we might move our company here. We might move other architecture firms here. It's open to anybody, but I think we will hit with the sports people first that run sports programs.
Okay. And the same thing for your retail market. I assume you would have sports stores of some kind, but what other retailers would you be looking to?
Well, most of it starts with the food and beverage, of course, during the tournaments and so forth. Most of the merchandising, when you have a volleyball tournament, all the different merchandisers come in and they have their booths, and we'll have open booths for them to come and go. I don't know that it's not like Dick's is going to move in with a store here, because you wouldn't have enough space and enough volume of people coming through. It'll be more of the sporadic merchandisers, in addition to those, like when you're here all weekend on a volleyball tournament all Saturday, we have to find all those different services that keep people happy and keep them here. So the food and beverage, a business center for the adults, different things for them to do during the day. So shopping would be one of them.
Okay. And also, Kevin and I were talking beforehand when we were up there looking around about the second floor that you're proposing. My comment to Kevin was that's going to be some trick. How will that, I mean, that's a big span to cover, and you don't want posts in the middle of the floor. I can see you have them up in the stands to some degree, but I presume that's doable, but could you talk a little more about that?
The structure of the second floor?
Yes.
Yeah. There's three options. When we talked about the financials, we have the good, better, and best option as well. If we did span this and put columns right here in the middle of the floor, that's the cheapest floor to span, but it also limits what I can do in this arena. So we have engineers now, and we're interviewing some more engineers. They have a thing called a post-tension system, long discussion, but we can now put the columns right where the retractable seating is, at the edge of the arena bowl, and still span it across. And the concrete deck that you have in there is got cables running through it. And when everything's poured, all the concrete's poured, you tighten up those cables really tight, and it holds it together, and it sort of pre-cambers the floor up. So it gives you a lot more loading capacity for less money. So you'll have a smaller floor truss system, post-tensioning, and a cheaper slab. It's not really new technology, but we didn't really think about that the first time. We were going with traditional post and beam type systems. So anyway, you can do a $2 million floor with columns here. You can do a $4 to $5 million floor with columns at the edge. If you want to go clear span and go a $7 million floor and have the columns clear out at the suites, that can be done too. But I think that's a little excessive. So we're trying to find the middle of the road, the happy middle.
And I know several years ago you put in another proposal that was similar in concept to this. And could you talk briefly about what, if any, differences are between what you're proposing now and then?
Really, our proposal has been the same all 3 years. It's just been more refined now. We've had better images. We've had more actual tenants and more sports that have come forward. The esports and a lot of those have come forward that we never had before. But the concept of putting the second floor in and the youth sports is where we always started. And it has grown and just become more refined since then.
Some of our biggest challenges we need to get started. We need to have the facility under contract so that we can put a plan out and say, hey, all the sports groups that we're talking to, this is when we can start. That's been one of our limitations. It's very hard to engage someone with an LOI without knowing when can we start. And that's been some of our biggest challenge in terms of getting some of that work done.
Okay, and I'm going to direct this question to you. And this, I know you'll go through a fairly extensive financial vetting process, but how confident are you of your numbers?
Well, there's work to be done still. We still have engineering work to be done. We still have some cost of construction that has to be confirmed. We have to put together a lot of the sports groups that will provide the revenue. So all that is work that still has to be done. We have gone through and modeled what we believe, based on the inputs that we've gotten, what we believe makes sense in terms of a revenue-wise and also on a cost perspective. But in the next 6 months, we're still going to be sharpening our pencil and getting better estimates of that to make sure that we've got a plan that works.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, good questions. Thank you. Councilman McManus?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll be fairly brief because I know we have a lot of folks here who probably want to testify too. I'll boil it down to really one question, and but I'd like some detail on it. And what I think is so intriguing about your idea is that it's keeping the historic structure, the iconic structure, but reusing it for something that is not about a spectator experience. It's about a real personal experience where people come here and they actually participate, in whatever sports they're doing, and they're not just watching. It's becoming a community asset that allows people to get health and wellness and really, like you said, every aspect of that through the facility. This really seems to me as the big assumption is that we will get people here, and 1,000 people a day would be, I think, amazing. I mean, I think that would be awesome. And I guess, and I know that was your estimate. And so my question is, can you dive into that a little bit more about how strongly you feel about the ability to attract people here? These won't be, and who those people are. They're not going to be people who just live here, I would presume. They're going to be people from a broader area, a broader region? And how certain do you feel about your estimates and about your ability to draw it, and what kind of plan or marketing ideas do you have in order to do that? So one question, but a lot of subparts.
Okay. Well, and thank you also for asking Todd that question, because as my CFO, he's always my devil's advocate on this stuff. Prove it, show me, and so forth. So the 1,000 kids a night was started out with, we have 12 basketball courts. There's so many kids on a team from 4 p.m. till 8 or 9 p.m. at night, taking about a 70% average that I'm going to be full in those months. And we modeled it during the winter months when it's heavy and the summer months when it's not heavy and so forth. And that's where we came up with the calculation for the 1,000 kids. And then you also you have the parent or the sibling that comes with it that's not part of that. So just court time for a basketball team that has 10 kids on it, and we're rotating them in every hour for 7 or 8 hours per day, that's where you get that calculation. So that's not assuming any of the visitors that come with them, any of the office staff, anybody that's here just doing physical therapy. That's actually not counting if I also have a track team up there. I was just counting court time. So I think I'm fairly conservative with the number, but I think I'm confident that once we're up and running, you see all these tenants, you see the physical therapy, you see all these other programs we put in, you can rent a basketball court somewhere up north, or for maybe a couple bucks more, you can come down here and have a totally different experience. We're still obviously open for all the different people that want to be here, but we think we will attract the higher content teams that want to train here and practice here.
I think you'll also have more of a diversity kind of from a wider range here on the weekends, Monday and Friday connected tournaments and that kind of thing. That's going to draw from a wider area. I think during the week you're going to have more local people here. Certainly you have some conventions and other things that will take that up from out-of-towners as well. But I think during the week you're going to see more of the sports teams, the clubs teams that are going to come here and practice and have some of those weekly tournaments and games. That's probably the difference between during the week versus weekends here.
And these were also confirmed by some of the teams that are already starting to reserve time here. Like I've already mentioned HOA volleyball. When I said 3,000 to 5,000 per day on a weekend, running 20 volleyball courts, that number is actually pretty low. That's a very conservative number. So Bertle with HOA can confirm those as well, of the amount of people that you have up at Bartle Convention Hall. When they have those teams going on 80 courts, I'm going to have 20 courts, and we can confirm those numbers for you.
And from a regional perspective, is there anybody else like this? I mean, who are you competing with? And if the answer is nobody, I mean, I guess that's a good thing. But that's kind of where I'm going at. Like, how do you know when there's nobody out there really doing this?
Well, like I said, we'll use the volleyball at Bartle Hall. So Bartle Hall brings in the sport court flooring, and they rent it, they truck it in, they take a day or two to set it up and whatever. So his cost to run a tournament in Bartle is higher than here. Come in, turn on the lights, the stuff's already here. So we're adding the capacity to something that already exists. So we're not really competing against Bartle, we're accentuating with it. Now, you can go to the new Rock Chalk Park, which has I think there's 12 or 14 volleyball courts, so they run small tournaments there. Well, it's still run by the same HOA. So now the HOA group has yet another facility that we can compete against others, or we can add to and have other options out there. But when you look at the total number of sports that we're talking about, they're all going to fill up our time. We're going to have volleyball one weekend, basketball the next weekend. We were contacted this week by table tennis. There's people out there. So there's lots of different users for the space, and that's just sports. Again, we haven't even talked about the conventions and the gymnastics or the wrestling with sports, but other venues that will still be using this.
One of the things that also helps, I think, is scale, because the thing that I think differentiates us against some of the other sporting facilities out there is no one has this level of courts that can operate all at the same time. I have kids that play basketball. If we go to a basketball tournament, we're going to this school, we're going to this school, we're going to this school. Here everything happens in one spot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilwoman Shields, I hope you say something about historic preservation.
All right, I will. I don't really have a question about it, but I'll say something about it. I think this is a town that has always had a soft spot for historic preservation, been very committed to it. But as you move into the mid-century modern era, the sort of the 50s to 75, 80s, the sculpture, while magnificent and very grand, does not sort of have the detail of, say, a little Victorian. And so I think it's taken us all a little while to appreciate what we have here. And certainly the Kemper is an excellent example, not only architecturally, but because of all of the history that occurred here. Sporting events, concerts, the Republican National Convention. I mean, there's just a rich history of Kansas City that's held within these walls. And it's a comment to say thank you for reaching out and being interested in working with the city to preserve this. As far as questions, I had a lot of time during the our committee work to question them, so I'm going to pass it on to my colleague.
Well, thank you, Catherine. The one question I have has to do with understanding that we have community-based organizations that run basketball tournaments throughout the city, and like your colleague mentioned, they oftentimes have to use 2 courts here in this building. But they're nonprofit, community-based organizations who I want to make sure that they are not getting priced out of the market in terms of being able to use this facility, particularly because we probably will be doing some tax incentive pieces. And so we have taxpayer money involved in the development of this thing. So I want to make sure that we have some open dialogue about some community-based organizations being able to not necessarily have to pay full boat like some of the other organizations. So are you willing to at least have those conversations with some of the community-based organizations that currently run some regional tournaments here?
Yeah, we are, and we've talked about some names already, and there's a whole other list of names that have already contacted me as well. But yes, we are going to make that available. We are also, like Todd said, when we're now putting tournaments here, we're also freeing up capacity in some of those other outer venues that were booked up before. So there's 2 different ways we're going to help get them the space they need.
I think also some of these groups will be interested in during the day. When people are working, they'll be able to come, whether it be some of the Special Olympics people or that kind of thing, or even some of the charter schools who need a place to go. That's kind of, for us, that'll be almost downtime. So it'll be a time when, we can provide some discounted rates and some participation there. And I think we'll have some demand during that time.
So good. Sounds good. I'll keep my questions brief because I too have been on the selection committee. We've asked you quite a few, but I want you to talk about 2 things real briefly. One is I think that Councilman Barnes hit on what interests me about this is the variety of different sports that you offer. I think allows a great partnership opportunity. We have over a dozen school districts in the limits of Kansas City, Missouri, and it seems to me that you have a model where you would have the tournament activity more on the weekends, as you just mentioned, at night, either youth leagues or adult leagues, as you mentioned, in different sports. But during the day, there's a great opportunity to really partner with our schools, and I think that's important. I think it's important for you to be inclusive. We've got a great need for this in Kansas City, but in order to get there, you have to build it first. So my second question I want you to actually talk about too at the same time is, tell us about your experience. We know on planning and zoning some of the great developments you've worked with the school district to repurpose buildings and that, but can you give for people maybe coming here for the first time listening, talk about some of the things you've done, because you haven't done a project, this is a unique project, you've done other challenging projects that I think would be good for everybody to hear about.
Okay. This will be my shortest answer so far. Your first question was yes. We thought of that as well with the schools. As far as our company, myself and my brothers got together back in 2004. I'm an architect, Sean is an engineer, Scott is a construction guy. And since that time, we've been building. On the bottom of the one panel over there, you see a bunch of line drawings of buildings. And it's not we couldn't get it all on the one page, but that's what we call Fouch City. Those are all the buildings that we have renovated in the last 12 years, which accounts to $300 million worth of renovation. Almost all of them are historic, using historic tax credits. Some of them are low-income housing tax credits, others are just market rate. When you talk about schools, we've done about 20 schools. So right now we're in the middle of the Switzer West Complex on the west side of downtown. That's one example of something that was vacant, I think, for 17 years. Structural problems, vacancy problems, and so forth, converting that as well. So we've done a lot of different projects, from single-family homes, duplexes, clear up through 20-story high-rises that J.E. Dunn's helping us build right now as well. So this one is different. The historic tax credit process is the same. We have the architectural staff, so we know how to get through that as well. Two of our architects actually worked for HOK before, so we know the sports venue as well. Luckily with this building, it's in great shape. There's not a lot of big things to fix. There's a lot of little things to fix, and then a big floor to put in here. So that's a really good subcontractor to build that floor. But the rest of this building is actually pretty easy, changing out finishes and bathrooms and some plumbing and so forth. So it is a big building. It's got its own little unique challenges, but I think with the ingenuity that our company has, and the support structure and the subcontractors and everything that we're planning on using, it really won't be that difficult compared to some of the vacant schools and other high rises we worked on.
That's good. Let me, before you add to it, just follow up. Can you give us a little anecdotal experience in some of these challenging buildings you've had? I'm assuming there was something that came up that was unanticipated that you had to work your way through, and you've done it in each instance. Is that a fair statement?
Correct. From asbestos to people living there or other things living there, structural issues, things not fitting. When you design these with historic tax credits in the process, you have to go through with what's called the Part 2. You have to textually and architecturally show them what you're going to do. You have to live by that. So I not only have building codes and model energy codes, but now I've got historic fabric codes and life safety codes. So it adds complexity, but we deal with those on each one of our projects. Again, this one, we don't have anything we're really anticipating as surprises, because your staff has done such a good job of already telling us what's broken and what needs fixed. We're now concentrating on what good things we want to put back in.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Hall.
Well, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you taking the time to tell the story yet again. I can't imagine how many times you've probably told it, but I appreciate that. I normally ask a whole lot of questions, and I wrote a whole lot of things down, but I see a whole lot of people out here, and I want to make sure they have the opportunity. So I'm just going to boil it down to a couple of things. First, I love your passion and enthusiasm for this project. I think when anybody does anything, if they don't have that, it won't be successful. And without the passion and enthusiasm, it would be a moot point, and I feel very confident in that. So that's a wonderful beginning for you, I think. Plus, all of the experience you've had makes me feel much more confident that you know what you're doing when we give you this huge building, if this is how this ends up going. But the thing that I guess I will shift to is, as I said, I care a lot about small business, local business, entrepreneurship, and jobs here in Kansas City. And when you started talking about all of the retail and the office space and all these kinds of things, do you have a number or an idea on the generation of revenue, job creation, industry that you can bring to Kansas City, independent of all the sports and the activities and the conference type stuff?
Yeah, we calculated some of those when we were going through the RFP process as well. The construction jobs is one thing, that's only for a year in duration. When we were talking about the sports complex and the amount of people to run the building, and then running the venue, or the vending and the food services, but then we also counted the referees that almost get in a 40-hour week. If they're doing the volleyball tournament Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they're almost getting 40 hours, so we counted them as full-time equivalents. We're looking at almost 80 full-time employees in this building, and that's just to run that thing. That's not the office staff or the people that are just housed here, that's the employment base.
And do you anticipate the economic development, people coming in here to build their business here, if they, end up having a business? Are you anticipating bringing new business into Kansas City that way?
Correct, yes. New businesses, or, like the Startup Village took a concept and built it. If we are really a good destination sports hub, maybe other things that we haven't thought of have come here together as well. There is a restaurant here in the building, but I don't think we're going to run a restaurant here because there's neighbors that are going to be way more successful having nice restaurants. And we want the people that are visitors here to expand and witness the rest of this area as well. So we're going to be working with the community, making sure we're not jeopardizing or cannibalizing what might already be there, and we'll add our own services. And then I think when we add tournaments, when we're talking about employment base, if we are adding these tournaments and every weekend and so forth, and the seating capacity we're talking about, a quick calculation was another 1,700 hotel rooms in addition, because you're already full downtown, which is great, and now I'm making that worse, or however you want to say it, you need more. So there's more jobs there as well. And then outside of this building, jobs for the food service and the entertainment as well.
My last quick question. Sure. Tell me about the parking situation at this building.
Again, the good news during the weekday, I have 150 cars per hour coming and going. So part of this RFP was the north lot, which is about 150 stalls. So that's where we don't need any more than that. We just use continuous churn and throughput to make that happen. On the weekends, when we had the big crowds, part of the deal with the city is the parking lot out here, the big one to the east, is the city parking lot. It's available for me to use, and it's then up to the city to then charge revenue or charge tickets if you want to park there. So I have all the capacity I need. It won't add to my expenses, it'll add to the city revenue.
Councilman Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you all for being here today. I also want to commend two groups of people that I think are important in this process. Councilwoman Shields is part of one of them, but Historic Kansas City and our preservation as community has been vital in making sure structures like this one survive, older structures, and as we're seeing, even younger structures in our community. So thank you so much for your efforts. And then I see a number of people from the West Bottoms, Historic West Bottoms Neighborhood Association, and many others that are here today. So I thank all of you for continuing to care about this community. Finally, those of you who've taken some interest in this business community. I want to ask just a few questions, far fewer than my usual as well. The first of which speaks to the idea of incentives. So we talked about historic tax credits. Are you at this point aware, and Mr. Williams' presentation mentioned the advanced KC process, what, if any, or the extent of any incentives we might be seeking from the city in connection with this project as well?
The only thing that we've talked about so far, and the only thing we're really anticipating asking, is for the simple 10-year LCRA tax abatement. There's no taxes on this property now, and we know what's going on with all the back and forth on the tax situation. We're hoping that our revenue tax here is very big and very helpful, but we're just asking for a 10-year running start to make sure this gets off the ground. And then the other key component is with our banking and investors to underwrite this, they need to know how much will the taxes be. And really none of us can actually pinpoint how they would even assess this building. So we just say, okay, let's just do the 10-year tax abatement, give us the running start, we know what the number would be so we can underwrite it, and hopefully we're exceeding your expectations through regular revenue taxes, and then in 10 years get back on the tax roll.
So, thank you. The other question, this might not be yours to answer as well, but we're kind of in the American Royal Complex, Hale Arena, companion properties, et cetera. What becomes of, I understand they exist in kind of separate parcels, but what becomes of the Hale Arena, of the rest of the complex when we separate Kemper Arena out of it? What is the future for this classic American Royal Complex?
We are hoping that we're so successful here that we can also continue to expand over there as well. No matter who owns it, we'd still continue to rent. So I'll go back to the volleyball. If we still need more capacity than what I can even add to Bartle Hall, we could go across to Governor's as well. I had hopes of putting turf in Hale Arena because there's large blocks of openings that you don't have at least now, that if I don't have to take it up and down every night, if I can roll it out for 3 or 4 or 5 months, now I can have padded turf in Hale Arena and add to your rental revenue over there as well. So I'm going to try and hopefully support them as well.
Thank you.
All right, good questions, everybody. I want to see if anybody on the selection committee or city staff has any questions while we're at the... No? Okay, thank you. Do you have any other additional things you want to add before we open it up to public testimony?
No, I've talked enough. I'll let them ask.
Okay, appreciate the presentation, and let's go to Maggie, if you could. I know we have a few people signed in. You still have a chance, even if you're not signed in, to talk. It's open mic night at Kemper Arena. So
But no karaoke.
No karaoke, yes.
We have Louise Jones.
And if you could state your name and address, as we always do at the council committee meetings, for the record, appreciate it.
My name is Louise Jones, and I live Kansas City North, just on the east side of Antioch Shopping Center. And I've been a resident of Kansas City since the early 70s. I used to live downtown where Bartle Hall is now until they gave me a relocation. And thank you, city. So, but when I had to move, I knew I was going to go north. I thank the council for having this meeting here this evening. The first time I've attended a council meeting, and I appreciate that it was in the evening and it was down here at Bartle Hall. I had an opportunity to say hi to Steve over here when I first came in. I told him I am so glad to meet him, and I am so tickled with what he has been able to accomplish getting this far with this council and the past council. Some of my first memories of coming to Kemper is Harlem Globetrotters, Elvis, hockey, ice shows, basketball. This Kemper will generate traffic. I hope the city can get bus transportation down here on a regular basis to accommodate all the youth that the city anticipates having down here. I am appreciative of knowing what the American Royal participation will be with the Kemper. And I'm hoping that having this rejuvenation of activity down in the West Bottoms will spur some interest in developing activities on our rivers. The rivers are underutilized down here, and I would like to see that happen. And my question to Steve is, what is the prognosis of having this a LEED building, the energy conservation? What type of information can you give us on that? And I think I am so appreciative of this. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. And I want people to be able to come up and testify. I don't necessarily want question back and forth, but if you feel like answering something, feel free, and then we can go ahead and read the next person, because they may be sitting in back and need a minute to get up here.
Next will be Joan Adam.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so our architectural staff are LEED certified, and of course we're going to go as far as we can with that. This one will be hard. If you know the details of LEED, this one will be hard to get very far into that program. The problem I have with LEED is you get the same amount of points for putting in new refrigerators as you do for saving a building. So, you know, I think saving a building should be 85% of the points of a LEED certification, but, you know, nobody's taken my vote on that one.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
My name is Joan Adam. I live at 5401 Brookside Boulevard. I just want to thank you on the behalf of Historic Kansas City, of which I'm a member. This is a great day for our membership. I can remember about 2 years ago, some of our members were making the rounds of city council of the previous council, and there seemed to be a real possibility that this entire huge building would be torn down for a parking lot that would be used for a weekend. It may have been a little more complex than that, but that was basically the gist of the decision. So we are so appreciative of the fact that so many of you opened up your minds and took the time to look at this a little with a new view and go to the effort that I know it's taken to bring this project to this point. And to Steve, who I know has spent a long time with this project, it's really I think it's going to be a wonderful event. It's always interesting to me when historic buildings are rehabbed or brought back. There is just a huge enthusiasm that people feel about that, which I think is a really strong showing that it's an important thing to do. So thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate it. And let's go ahead and read the next person.
Mary Hernandez.
And while Mary's coming up, I'm going to just say we do have a tradition of historic preservation in Kansas City. I think that's one of the great things about Kansas City. And I'll mention for fun that when I was on the last council, it was Councilwoman Shields that came in with Historic KC and on this project. So it's, yeah.
My name is Mary Hernandez. I'm a West Side resident of the West Side here. It's just right over right over the bridge. And I'm not here to start any trouble or anything. I've been here a long time. I was just gonna say, Mr. Fauch, that I think it's a great idea, what you're doing here. I'm real interested in your track myself, okay? But one of the things that I was gonna say is that yesterday in the world news, they were saying that our children and my grandchildren, our grandchildren are getting so fat because we're not eating right and we're all on our phones, you know? They're all on the phones playing games, so I think it's a wonderful idea. Plus all the jobs that it's gonna bring, hopefully for our residents. But I do wanna say that as a resident of the West Side, I'm real concerned because I remember when this Kemper first went up, I mean, we were arrested on Cesar Chavez Avenida, the whole West Side community. We were all arrested because we were against all the traffic that was hitting our neighborhoods. I mean, people were going down the street and we couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't cross Cesar Chavez Avenida. At that time, it was 23rd Street traffic way, you know? We couldn't even cross with our cars or walking because there was so many cars coming this way. And back then there was like two bridges. One bridge was coming down this way, the other bridge was going that way. Now one of them is closed off, you know? So as a neighborhood, we all decided that we had to do something about it. I mean, there was like residents being run over. Excuse me, I'm a little nervous. There was residents being run over. People were getting frustrated. Our own residents were throwing cans and bricks at all these people that were coming down this way because we couldn't get through. We couldn't get through to our destination, you know? And so we decided to get together and we had a little protest out in the street and many of us got arrested that day. But I think we got through to them because all of a sudden the city started to make all one-ways going down one way and Cesar Chavez Avenida was fixed a little bit. We got those little center aisles in the middle of the street, and so I'm concerned about that, just our traffic and how it's gonna affect our community, you know? So I'm surprised that Jolie Justice is not here because I think it might affect her and she might hear about it. Had I known about this meeting, I might have been able to wake up a little of the old rebel browsers to bring them down here, you know, but I just really found out about this meeting yesterday, you know. So, but I have been here for many occasions and I just love your idea, okay? Thank you.
We appreciate your testimony, and the traffic issue is something with any new large development. That's a great point to bring up. We appreciate that. Okay, who do we have next?
Next is Bob Myers.
Is he, okay, he's left, okay.
Joe Kelly. He's our last person.
Last person signed up, okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joe Kelly. I live on 503 Northwest Sagamore in the Briarcliff neighborhood. I do have a question as someone who's been in the live entertainment business their entire adult life. I do get the concept of repurposing this venue to something else with all the competitive buildings and venues within the city. And I heard that a major focal point of this was not competing with the Sprint Center. But from what I heard with conventions, with other things that were going to be here, taking away conventions, live events such as cheerleading competitions, volleyball tournaments that are currently in Bartle Hall, why is that not a concern for the competition? Also, with all the office space that's going to be put in here, how is that going to affect? I'm sure there's currently a lot of open office space down in the West Bottoms. And if this is going to be a revitalization project for the West Bottoms, wouldn't a building that's tax exempt like this, with all this new fancy office space, take away from the current residents here, the building owners, and any entrepreneurs that are here? So that's just my concern with the issue.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for raising your concerns. Is there Anybody else that would like to testify? We have nobody else signed up, is that correct?
No, sir.
We have a lot of people here, so just come on down.
Could I just say something real quick?
Sure, Councilwoman.
Bob Myers is with KC Modern, which is the preservation group that looks at, oh, get closer, okay. Bob Myers is the, very involved with KC Modern, which is the preservation group that looks at your mid-century modern homes and is advocate for them. And I know he just wanted to indicate his support for this project going forward and for the preservation of this building.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, thank you. My name is Sylvia Guerra. I am a native of Kansas City. However, I've lived 35 years in Los Angeles, and the last 4 years I have been a commuter between LA and Kansas City. My background is broadcasting back at Channel 9 back in the day. Did many of the events in here. We had a suite here, and my current career is what we call a portfolio career because I travel a lot. I'm a real estate agent. I'm an event planner, and I've been an event planner since I was 10. So I thank you for your visionary, and I'm also a real estate agent, as I mentioned, so I've worked on quite a few projects myself. I thank everyone that's here that has the vision to be here, the support, the pros and cons, so that those can be brought up now. And I believe the vision that you have is awesome. And I'm sure it's being done somewhere around the country, as a few people asked, regional where it's being done. But I'm sure in some parts of California we have it, parts of Florida, Colorado, there are some type of comparisons we can do. And you're touching so many, from what we were talking about, from offices to physical fitness. And my one question, and that's one of the reasons I'm standing here, is what's gonna happen to the scoreboard? And you can ask that later, but I was in the front row, and that was just something. But I thank you, I wish you well. I would love to be part of your staff on a consulting or a full-time, part-time basis. And thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
And the name is Sylvia Guerra, and I live out south and in Pasadena, California.
Okay. Thank you.
We're up to one employee.
Yeah.
And I just want to add, I thank you. I was part of the film community here, and I was with these fine people at City Hall. And you do have an awesome film community here, and I'm sure we'll get behind you too. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hello, David Johnson, a Kansas City resident, and behind me are Duran Netzel,
Bob Speck.
We started the online campaign to save Kemper Arena, so thank you for supporting that. We're finally coming out. So we've been in contact with Steve, so been supportive of his proposal the whole time. So thank you, Steve, for a very innovative proposal. I'm not much of a sports person, but these guys were really into it, so I was really more driven by the historic preservation angle and then renovation or something to spark re-interest in the West Bottom. So applaud your support of the proposal and thank you.
All right, thank you.
And shout out to the city communications department for telling people to follow us on Twitter.
If anyone has esports questions, I'm open to take any of those.
I actually have a question for you on that, because we were talking quietly. Minecraft would be considered an esport, is that?
Minecraft, I mean, there's literally ones that are being created every year. I mean, it's an industry that's going to grow to over $1 billion this year and no signs of slowing down. So we've talked a little about it, and maybe we can see this space become a hub for it in the United States.
All right, thank you.
And I just want to say, when we started this campaign, we were concerned about taxpayer money being used to tear down this arena. We weren't too concerned about what the use would be. And now here we are. We couldn't be more thrilled of the concept that you guys have laid out. This truly had, what's more important than healthy youth in our town? And I from a neighborhood standpoint, I can't think of anything better to revitalize this community. And we couldn't be more excited for the way this has played out. And we thank all of you guys and Fouch Brothers.
All right, thank you. Okay, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Luke Wade. I actually live over in Coleman Highlands. I started a recreational league for adults about 4 years ago. And last year was our 4th year, and we grew to 4,000 players in the year. So I wasn't going to talk, but I heard some of the concerns on getting people coming out during the week. How are you getting 1,000 people here a day? We have a great partnership with Parks and Rec. We rent all the fields that are available in the city. We've outgrown it. We're constantly outgrowing it. We get 300 adults a day that play rec sports with us on a Monday and a Tuesday and a Wednesday. So it's definitely possible. And I know there's way more youth out there than adults that are wanting to do this. So I think it's an amazing idea. We'd love to be a part of it. We're constantly growing. We're actually working on some deals on the riverfront to add our own complexes outdoors, so this would be an awesome supplemental thing for inside. So I think it's great. Commend you guys on all your work. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Calvin Wainwright, and I live in Raytown. But everything that I do is in Kansas City, so I love the ideas, and my concern came from Lee Barnes, and I thank you for announcing our concerns. I represent 11 neighborhood associations in Kansas City on the east side of Truce. And, you know, a lot of people are not working, so hope that venue is open to them. And also the opportunity for our young people to be involved in sports. In Kansas City, we have quite a few community centers, but everything shuts down for our youth at 5:30. We get ready to kick off the Mayor's Night Hoops program on Saturday, but during the school year, you know, we need other venues and other opportunities, and I thank you for opening up the doors for youth in the city, but I hope it be affordable for the kids in our neighborhood, okay? So consider that in everything that you do. Thank you.
All right, thank you, great point, thank you. Good evening.
My name is Bill Haw, and I hadn't planned to get up and say anything tonight, but there's one subject that maybe we haven't covered very well, which is the business effect, the pragmatic business effect on the surrounding neighborhood. I own 20 acres of the ground, much of which surrounds directly the Kemper Arena here, and the Livestock Exchange building. We have 8 new restaurants and bars within a block of here. They're either under construction or just starting. I cannot imagine anything that we could do down here that would more perfectly dovetail with the business activity that we've got going on. Steve, way to go. I think it's the greatest thing that could possibly happen to us. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good evening.
My name's Bill Super. I live at Northwest 81st Terrace, north of the river in Kansas City. I guess my question is, I've been out of town, I missed a lot of this stuff that's been in the news recently. The bottom line is the city's going to turn this building, they're giving you the building, correct? Okay. Now this building has generated little to no revenue in the past pretty much since Sprint Center's open, correct?
No property tax, it's a city-owned property, that's
right.
correct.
So it never generated property tax, and when Sprint Center opened, it pretty much lost its revenue capabilities. Okay, so we've got something that's, when the city turns it over to you, all the expenses go to him to maintain this building, correct? The city's $1 million a year that they're spending to maintain it, no longer, okay.
Right.
This is kind of like a no-brainer. Did I miss something? Okay. And then you're asking for a 10-year tax abatement, which, okay, so for 10 years, there will be no property tax generated, which it hadn't generated.
Right.
So we're still at even, aren't we?
Yeah.
Other than the $1 million we're saving.
Yeah.
And then and plus any earnings tax, any sales tax, this would, okay.
Right. You've got it.
I guess I understand it. Thank you.
Great way to make the point. No, I appreciate that. That's great. We also save the potential cost of deconstruction or demolition. So I mean, it's another $5, $6, $7 to $12 million. So on top of the $1 million savings. So anybody else, please come to the microphone if you'd like to testify. We've got time. We haven't made it to 10 o'clock yet, so there's no pizza by Vice Chair Barnes yet. We got to keep talking.
Spike together.
Okay. Let me, if there's nobody else that would like to testify, if there is, please come down. Okay. Let me just see if there are any other questions, comments based on some of the comments we just heard. Questions? No? Okay. Anything from staff? Oscar? Sure.
Mr. Joe Kelly made a comment about Bartle Hall and competition. I know Joe, he does events at Bartle Hall, but I would share with you that most of our weekends are all maxed out right now. We're turning away business, so this will complement what we do, so I'm not very concerned. And we will put language in the contract that will prevent any of that kind of thing from happening, by the way.
That's right. All right. Do you have any closing statements or anything that you want to add?
Well, again, I'd like to thank everybody possible, and it'll take all night to do that as well, but it has been a long process. We are glad we got to this point. We hope we keep moving forward quickly. We're about to start spending a lot of money on engineering and estimates and fine-tuning everything that you want. I just wanted to do one last quick little shout-out. My son is here. Yeah. He's in high school in DECA marketing, and he did this project, this Kemper Arena, how to brand it, how to market it, and so forth, with another classmate of his. They took it clear to nationals.
Wow.
And they got comments from the people that were watching them on innovation and so forth, and they took note of it. And some of them were from Missouri, and they knew all about the building and so forth. So out of 16,000 students that showed up, they were in the top 30 percentile.
Wow, that's great. Where is he at? I think he needs to come up to the microphone. We want to hear about this. So come on. Can you tell us about what we just heard? That's congratulations. That's great.
Thank you. I appreciate it. DECA is kind of like a business. I'm sorry, I'm kind of nervous right now. I don't even know what to
we
say.
put you on the spot a little bit. So
we basically took Kemper Arena and the knowledge that I had. Obviously, I got to meet with him a lot because I would just sit at home and talk with him on the couch. So I got a lot of information through that, and we put Kemper Arena into a project and gave recommendations on what we think would be possible for Kemper Arena. We had a 15-minute presentation that we gave to a judge, and we made it through district, state, up to internationals, and we were in the top 30th percentile. We had to come up with a 30-page report on Kemper Arena, and which took quite a while and a lot of effort. And then the 15-minute presentation, and we gave plenty of visuals that he provided us with, and it was just a fun, great learning experience through DECA.
That's great. Well, congratulations. That's awesome. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
Appreciate it.
All right. We feel free to come up. And then we'll wrap up after this, unless anybody else has another comment. Yes, sir.
My name is Alan Caldwell. I live in Overland Park.
Okay.
And I have moved out here from Maryland about 49 years ago, and absolutely appalled at the lack of use of the river for recreation, and I've been on a bent to create that. This will add considerably to making Kansas City a water recreational venue as well. Particularly interested in your rowing. I have a concept for a rowing tank. Kansas City is probably the largest metropolitan area in the entire United States that already has 6.2 miles of riverfront, major riverfront, already in public ownership and unimpeded by a railroad. This should help considerably to make Kansas City an active water recreation area as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. We appreciate your time, and that concludes this Planning and Zoning Committee meeting. I'll just gavel with my cell phone.